Now, we know Marcus Williams' time with the Baltimore Ravens, it did not end on a positive note whatsoever. We could tell that from the outside looking in, but Marcus Williams, he confirmed that and more in a recent interview that he did with Teron Armstead, and he absolutely ripped the Baltimore Ravens coaching staff in the way that they handled a lot of the situations last year. And we're going to hear exactly what he had to say. Before we do, let me know if you got the notification for this video. And if you did, let me know your favorite Marcus Williams moment while he was a Baltimore Raven. But without further ado, let's listen to what he had to say and we'll break it down.
As we dive more back into this football world, we want to know and we want to hear from Marcus Williams the depths of the situation. So before I pose the question, you signed a 5-year, $70 million deal,
big money,
with the Ravens in 2022.
Yep, was worth
After being drafted to the New Orleans Saints, spending 5 years there, and that's 8 years as a starter, highly productive, over 20 interceptions. You got we got all the numbers, which warranted the contract, 5 years, $70 million, just 3 years ago. Till after just a down half a year, if that's what we want to call it, a down half the year, it seems that a lot of football talkers have written you off. What does 2025 look like for Marcus Williams?
Man, now before we even continue with this video, Teron Armstead said it seems like a lot of football talkers have written Marcus Williams off. And he could be talking about media. He could be talking about people on the radio. He could be talking about YouTubers. He could be talking about anybody, anywhere. But I will take it a step further because Marcus Williams is still a free agent. So it doesn't seem like it's just football talkers that have written him off, because the Baltimore Ravens, they cut him a long time ago. He's been a free agent for a while, so he has had plenty of opportunity to get signed by a team, but no team has signed him yet. I don't know if a team has approached him yet or not, but him not having been signed yet, in my opinion, that speaks volumes. But let's get back to the video.
Right now, you know that situation happened. I mean, to be frank, I just think it was just a lot of miscommunication from the top down. There's a lot of stuff on my side that I could have done better. Of course, I take accountability for whatever action that I did that they didn't like, but I didn't know what actions those were. But I take accountability for maybe missed opportunities, maybe missed plays that I could have done better on. But as far as the communication from the top down, I feel like it could have been better. They could have communicated properly and effectively so that there was no miscommunication when, the switch was going to occur. I mean, I played football for a long time. You don't just get bad overnight. And most people on the outside will believe that plays that were given up may have been on me, but they don't really know the depths of the coverage or what we were actually running, what we were told. They don't really know. But as a safety, my responsibility is to do whatever I can to show up in the screen and maybe possibly make a play.
What do you do?
Okay, so with that part, Marcus Williams, this is something that I've heard football players say this before, and I respect it, because they talked about how a lot of people from the outside looking in, they don't know the depths of the plays of the different assignments. We could see stuff on TV, and he said, "Oh yeah, y'all could see that, but you don't really know whose assignment that wide receiver is, or that tight end is, or that running back, or whoever it may be. Sometimes you just don't know." Now, me, never claim to be no big X's and O's guy, never have been, never will be. That's just not me. But I do know plenty of X's and O's guys. And before Marcus Williams had even got benched, a lot of them were telling me, he just ain't been looking good, man. He had not been looking good early on in the year. Now, again, Marcus Williams, he could be right, though. I'm sure he is right. A lot of it, we don't know. We may not know what coverage it was. We may not know whose exact assignment it was. I remember Kyle Vanoy, a couple of months ago, he spoke about it, because I remember I had been bringing this up throughout the entire season. I felt like the Baltimore Ravens pass rush, they were up and down. But Kyle Vanoy, not responding to me, but Kyle Vanoy talked about how a lot of fans, they don't necessarily understand the game because you don't play every single quarterback the same way. There's some quarterbacks where, yeah, you're going to rush them, but there's other quarterbacks you're going to do more of a contain to keep them in the pocket so they don't get to moving around. So, and I understood that. I still feel the same way that I felt. Of course, that's no disrespect to Kyle Vanoy or any of the pass rushers whatsoever. But I do still feel like the pass rush was a little bit up and down. But I do appreciate what Kyle Vanoy said about that. And I do appreciate also what Marcus Williams is saying about that. Now, something that he said that stood out, he said that there was a lack of communication and from the top down. Now, when anybody, when speaking in football terms, speaks about from the top down, that's talking about the coaching staff. That's talking about the coaching staff. That's talking about the people who are giving the, not, I don't even say orders, but the people that are giving the direction on what you should be doing and what you should not be doing. So Marcus Williams is letting it be known like, hey, there was poor communication. And he said from the top down. So a trickle-down effect that negatively impacted the defense. And he also said, hey, like, look, I take responsibility. I take accountability for the misplays that I did, whatever those were, whatever those might have been. So it seemed like he took accountability, but then kind of got off of it. Because he said he didn't know what the plays were that he messed up on. He didn't know what it was. And it sounded like he was saying like that was never communicated with me what I did wrong. But he also said like, look, I've been playing football for a long time, which he has. And he said, you don't just get bad overnight. Things just don't happen like that. And I do agree with that. That's why I remember just last year being so confused on what happened. What changed? Because with Marcus Williams, like, I was happy when Ravens signed him. And I do not think it was a bad deal at all. I think it was a great deal. I think Marcus Williams was worth it. I loved it. But I know his first year he got hurt. Then the second year he got hurt too. But then the third year, I don't know what was going on. Something changed. Something was different. Could it have been the coaching staff? Because I know we had Denard Wilson. He left and he became the defensive coordinator for the Titans, I believe. That could have been a change that was a huge impact, maybe. But obviously we went from Mike McDonald to Zach Orr. That's a big change. You change you change defensive coordinators. You change the secondary coach. So those are some significant changes right there. So, but anyway, let's get back to Marcus Williams and Teron Armstead.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but what do you do when that's a situation where a play happens, and this happens a lot on the offensive line, a play happens, and somebody that you're not technically assigned to, this is not your responsibility, but you might end up being the closest person in proximity once the play happens. How do you, and you know that the immediate public reaction is going to be, oh, it's this guy's fault. Happens a lot, right? How do you, or what do you say to that? Like, how do you combat that? Because you don't want to come out and say, no, this was such and such man, or right, I wasn't supposed to be blocking him. This was his guy. Well, how do you combat that?
Yeah, I never throw anybody under the bus. I just try to keep it cool, and hopefully when you go in the meeting room, the coaches address it. And unfortunately, like when things happened last year, it wasn't addressed in that magnitude. Oof. So it all just ultimately somebody had to take the fall because the media's looking at it, the fans are looking at it, and somebody has to take the fall for what's going on. And even though it may not be my fault, I'm not going to come out and say, hey, this is such and such person. So for me, I wrote on my board, like every year, every week, I write on the board my goals, and I just said never lose my peace. Like nobody could take my peace, nobody could, bring me down, no matter what. Yeah, I was frustrated, upset about what was going on, but they were never going to take my peace, because once somebody takes your peace, they control you, and nobody's going to control me. So at the end of the day, I know what I could do. I know that I'm, if not the best safety in the league, I'm one of the best, and there's a lot of great safeties out there, but I just know what I could do personally as a safety. And when the change was made and there was no communication, it hurt. Get benched for a game and to be told like you just need to take a break, and just to come back the next game ball and then get sat again, it didn't make sense to me. But I didn't point the finger. I didn't say it was this guy. I didn't say it was that guy. I didn't say it was a coach. I said I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm gonna just keep it G. I ain't gonna say nothing about nothing in the media. It's all about the team. I don't want to make any distraction for
I
my
love it.
team because I want us to
You
be the best that we could be, and I want us to win. If we win, I'm happy. But it sucks sitting on the bench when you know what you could do. Make plays in practice. You go out of practice, you making plays versus the best quarterback in the league, right?
I like that part. Yeah.
But you're not in the game. So I just kept doing everything I could. I approached everything as a pro, and that's just how I present myself, and that's what I try to teach my kids at my facility.
Okay, and I respect that. I appreciated him saying that he ain't want to throw anybody under the bus. I love that he said that he made plays in practice against the best quarterback in the game. So Marcus Williams knows. He also bigged up himself too, and I think that was sort of just to try to put it out there to say, hey, I'm still a baller. It's like somebody come sign me. When he said I'm the best safety in the league, and if not the best, then I'm one of the better safeties in the league. He said we got some good safeties in the league for sure. So I appreciated that. But he also said that he was a fall guy. He said that he was the fall guy. And he did say that, so basically, if somebody's a fall guy, then they're taking the blame for what somebody else messed up on. Now, it's like with Marcus Williams, he's in a very, very tricky spot because he's a free agent. And obviously, stuff like this, it gets around. It gets around. Teams, they see everything online, all the interviews and the social media posts. They see all of that stuff. So if he, and I do really appreciate too what he said as well. He said, no, I ain't nobody that's going running to the media and whatnot. You don't see me doing a bunch of interviews like that. I don't be running my mouth like that. And he didn't. He was not like that with the Baltimore Ravens, like whatsoever. Because he said that, hey, if the team is winning, cool. He was good, and that's what mattered most. And that seems to be something that he continues to reiterate throughout this interview with Teron Armstead of him being a good teammate and not throwing anybody under the bus. But with Marcus Williams, he said that he was a fall guy, so he was taking on blame for what ended up being somebody else's fault. Now, what I was saying, where he's in a tough spot, is because he's a free agent. Now, of course, I'm sure he would want to say, hey, it was this guy's fault. He's the one that was really responsible for X, Y, and Z. That's why everything broke down. There was no communication. He even said when he got benched, he said he was never really told the reason why he got benched. He said, oh, you need a break. And he's like, what? Then he said he came back, played in the game against Tampa, I believe, and did his thing. But then he got benched again, and then that was it. And he said it hurt, which we could understand. Like, yeah, that would definitely hurt for sure. You've been a starter like majority of your career, and you just signed a couple years prior. You signed a fat 5-year, $70 million deal, so you're getting paid handsomely. But then you get benched. Now, of course, I know a lot of people from the outside looking at, oh man, I'm sure that money that'll cheer him up, and I'm sure it would to an extent. But at the same time, you still want to play. You still want to show people why you got paid that handsome sum of money a couple of off seasons ago. So I get his frustration with that, and especially if it is true that he was not told what the reasoning was that he was being benched. Especially if he got benched and he got to play, then he got benched again. I'm sure that's frustration, very frustrating with the back and forth. Again, we don't know the ins and outs of the story. We just hearing his side. And again, with his side, he is keeping it as respectful as he can to an extent because he's not saying anybody specifically. He's not, oh, it was this coach or it was that player, it was that teammate. He didn't say any of that. He ain't say a single name at all. He ain't even say, like, he could have been like, oh, it was this defensive assistant, it was this linebacker coach, it was this one DB coach. He didn't even say nothing. He gave no specifics whatsoever. The most specific thing that he said thus far is from the top down. That's it. It's from the top down. So he is speaking on it without, like he said he ain't throwing nobody under the bus. So he has stayed true to that. But let's continue.
No, that's real, and that's you. That speaks to you, who you are, team first guy,
Team first
your
guy for
character,
sure, yeah.
not to be moved or shooken. You said that you were hurt, you were upset getting benched at the second half at the end of the season. Those are emotions that we don't see from you. You're
Right.
not a flashy player. You're not a big talker. So it could come across as being less passionate. Do you think that play a part? Do you think that your fan, like the way you're received from fans, is being someone that's less passionate because you're not a flashy person?
Yeah, I think most people see me as like they don't see me in the media, they don't see me clapping back or talking back in the media, and they're like, "Oh, he don't care." But there's one thing I do is I care, and I'm overly competitive. Overly competitive. I'm about my business. I do everything the right way. So to do stuff the right way, to treat people the right way, to practice the right way, to watch film, to do everything the right way, it hurts when there's a lack of communication, and that's what I was most hurt about. I could have done with, hey, you know what, you've been doing this wrong, and then sit me, opposed to, hey, you're done, right? But if I come out and start, bashing my teammates, bashing my friends, then I'm a cancer in the locker room, and I don't want to be that type of guy. So I just keep it on the hush. I'm not a flashy person. I'm not a big talker. But when I'm probably done with football, I'm gonna be the one saying like, "This is what happened. This is how it happened," and I'm gonna just keep it real because nobody really knows what's really going on in the locker room besides the people in the locker room, unless that person says it. And once you
That's
do
true.
that, you're a cancer to the team.
Now, with that, what he said, I guess he just clarified everything that I had been thinking. He said, once I'm done playing football, oh yeah, then I'm gonna tell it all. I'm gonna say, oh, it was this, that's the reason for this. But he said once he's done playing football. So Marcus Williams, he understands the business side of the game to where, hey, like you say the wrong thing, it can make you look so bad. It can paint such a bad picture with you. That's why, like with I was very surprised with Deontay Johnson when the interview where he talked about how he refused to go into the game for the Ravens against the Eagles because he was cold. He hadn't been really involved in the offense prior to that. And then Rashad Bateman got hurt. They were like, all right, Deontay, you up? He said, no, I'm not going in. And he actually like said that. And he, of course, is signed to the Browns right now, but the contract is minimal. So he could get cut at any time. And what made me even more surprised that Deontay Johnson said that is because right now and for years, he's had this label on him as being a bad teammate. So he's had that label continue to follow him around from team to team. So I would think like, all right, Deontay, you'll probably want to shake that off. You probably want to get rid of that, probably get that off of you and show, no, I am a good teammate. But him sharing that story, and yes, it was in the past, but at the same time, I would have just saved that for another time. I don't think it was the best decision for him to share that. But again, I respect him being honest and keeping it real and whatnot. But at the same time, I was surprised that he even said something like that. Because I'm like, oof, that doesn't help paint a better picture of you being a good teammate. Because you like straight up said like, no, I refuse to go in the game. I was just like, ooh. But with Marcus Williams, like he knows people are watching, teams are watching, stuff gets around like crazy. So the way that he's handling it, you gotta respect it because again, he's trying to still play, which I get. He's trying to still play. He's continued to reiterate, I'm not a bad teammate. I don't want to be a bad teammate. He talked about how he's setting the example for the people at his camps and stuff too. So I do really like that about everything that he's said thus far. That again, that's the biggest thing. He want to be a good teammate. He don't want to throw nobody under the bus. He don't feel like it's all his fault. And again, one of the biggest takeaways from this is that he's hurt. He's hurt. The Baltimore Ravens, whatever coach it was, he said that he didn't get an explanation for anything. And if that is the case, then I could understand why he would be hurt. Because if you lose your job, you don't reason it. Like if it's one of us working a regular job and we've been working there for a couple of years and whatnot. Oh yeah, everything cool. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, you're fired. Or hey, this person gonna take your place. First thing that we're gonna say, why? For what? What's the reasoning? But if our boss just says, just gotta deal with it. You just need a break. We're just gonna go with that person. You could be like, oh, like man, like that can make it hurt even more because you could be wondering like, what did I do? What happened? What went wrong? Been here for a couple years. I've been doing my thing and whatnot. Like, what happened? What's the issue? But then if something like that happens, if they don't give you a reason, then that's where it gets even more tricky, because you could assign yourself the responsibility to look even deeper within yourself. Like, hey, what did I do? You to really examine stuff, really look back. Did I mess up here? Did I mess up there? What was that? And that could drive you crazy. So I understand Marcus Williams being hurt. Let's continue.
I mean, it's a part of your integrity, and it's
Integrity,
you know, it kind of
for sure.
comes with the sport too. You know what I mean? You never want to be a finger pointer. Never want to be somebody to
Right.
what can come across as excuses. Like, we know what's the facts,
Right.
but we don't never want to give no excuses on anything. It's part of the makeup of being in the NFL. So I will ask you, what do you say right now, present day, to the Baltimore Ravens organization and the Ravens fans across the world?
Man, I appreciate them. I appreciate all the fans. I appreciate the coaches. I appreciate them giving me the opportunity.
I like that.
I appreciate them blessing me. It's a blessing to be able to play for the Ravens. A great organization. Many of greats have come through there, and
That's true.
I'm very appreciative of them. I mean, they blessed me and my family, and you know, I wouldn't change doing any of that for the world, because ultimately I got paid, and you know, I feel like I played through injuries over there. I went through a torn pec, dislocated my wrist, and I still played, and I still had great play. So to have a dislocated wrist, come back in the same year, get a pick the first game I come back,
Hey, that's
then the
true.
next year tear my pec, no surgery, only missed 3 games, come back, I put it all on the line for the
He
Ravens
did.
Come back, AFC Championship game.
and play in the
He
AFC
did.
Championship. I played throughout the whole year, hurt, tore pec, and at the end of the day, I know what I brought to the table. I'm hungry. I'm never giving up. I'm never backing down. And no matter what adversity I'm faced with, I know I'm going to overcome it. So whatever they did, whatever happened last year, I know I'm just going to overcome that, because there's people that have worse stuff going on in the world than me getting benched in football. So
I like that.
I know I'm going to overcome that as well.
I like that. I love when stuff gets put into perspective, and that's what Marcus Williams did at the end of that. Now that interview, it did continue, and they spoke some more about what's next for Marcus Williams. So you could check that out. I'll leave the link to the rest of it in the description. But Marcus Williams, he said it. Like I love that Teron Armstead asked him. So what do you say to Baltimore Ravens fans, to the organization? He said, "Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate it." And then he threw it in there. He said what we were all thinking. He said, "Hey, they took care. They blessed me and my family, because they paid him. He made a lot of money from the Ravens." So, but I respect his mindset, because again, he knows people are listening. He knows people are watching, and he did not throw anybody under the bus. Again, he said there was a lack of communication. That's what he continued to say. Lack of communication, lack of communication, lack of communication. But he didn't throw not one particular person under the bus. And he said it to where, hey, he said what he had to say, but he kept it respectful and he kept it professional. And when other teams see that, when other teams watch that, when other teams get wind of that, they can be like, oh, okay, cool. Lack of communication. All right, cool. So when they speaking to Marcus Williams, if they bring him in for a workout or whatnot, they talk to him about, hey, what happened over there with the Baltimore? Because they're going to ask him, what happened over there with the Baltimore Ravens? He signed you to this big deal a couple years ago, and then they cut you 3 years later? What's that about? So, yeah, man. But yeah, I appreciate how he handled himself. I do. There were some parts, again, where I think he kind of backed away from accountability on some parts, but for the most part, he accepted that, like, look, things happen. Things got messed up. They didn't tell me exactly what it was. And again, that part can be very frustrating. But his biggest thing was, let me continue to be a good teammate. Let me continue to be a good NFL player, just person in general, because I know my next opportunity is probably riding on a lot of stuff that I have to say right now.